The Empire's army goes way beyond your standard Stormtroopers. In this video, we're diving into some of the most specialized and elite variants the Star Wars universe has to offer, from Jedi hunters to stealth operatives and everything in between. Let's get right into it. Death Troopers were black armored soldiers who served as bodyguards and ruthless enforcers for high-ranking Imperial leaders like Grand Admiral Thrawn and Director Krennic. Their sleek, matte black armor wasn't just for show. It was packed with advanced tech, including encrypted communication systems, enhanced targeting sensors, and even voice scramblers, designed to terrify enemies while keeping missions classified. Known for their deadly precision, Death Troopers were experts in both close-quarters combat and long-range marksmanship, making them one of the Empire's most adaptable and dangerous assets. Armed with an arsenal that typically included SE-14R blaster pistols, E-11D blaster carbines, and DLT-19 heavy blasters, these troopers were always prepared for any situation, but their fearsome skills weren't just natural. The recruitment process for Death Troopers was notoriously strict. Candidates had to stand at least 1.95 meters tall and endure surgical enhancements that pushed their strength, speed, and stamina to superhuman levels. Once deployed, Death Troopers operated in small specialized units, with each soldier mastering a particular combat role. With their intimidating appearance and deadly reputation, Death Troopers quickly became symbols of the Empire's most mysterious and terrifying forces, and rightfully so. Their design is easily one of the coolest ever seen in the Star Wars universe. Dark Troopers were another nightmare creation of the Empire, advanced battle droids or exoskeleton-wearing infantry units built for raw power and destruction. These machines were heavily armored, equipped with enhanced weaponry, and fitted with jump packs for superior mobility. The Empire's Dark Trooper project was divided into 3 ambitious phases, each more dangerous than the last. Phase 1. Dark Troopers were skeletal droids built from lightsaber-resistant alloy. These early models carried a vibro sword mounted to their right arm, a blast shield on the left, and a small jump pack for explosive bursts of speed during melee attacks. Primarily used as sentries, their exposed power cords and couplings marked their most glaring weaknesses. Phase 2 took things to the next level. These units featured full armor plating, advanced jump packs, and wielded assault cannons that could unload 400 plasma shells and 20 missiles before reloading. To make them even more terrifying, they also carried the Arccaster, a weapon capable of discharging devastating electric bolts. This version became the go-to combat unit for the Empire. Phase 3. Dark Troopers were the most ambitious and intimidating of them all. Massive, heavily armed, and versatile, this version could operate as an autonomous battle droid or even be worn as an exosuit, merging machine and soldier into one devastating force. However, only 3 prototypes were ever built, and the full deployment was scrapped after the fall of the Empire. The Dark Troopers featured in The Mandalorian appear to be fully developed Phase 3 models, but with one major change. They function purely as droids and lack the ability to be piloted as exosuits. These droids had built-in rocket boosters for both space and atmospheric flight, and boasted armor that could easily shrug off blaster fire. The Dark Trooper project cemented these machines as the Empire's ultimate foot soldiers, blending overwhelming firepower with a menacing design to dominate any battlefield. Flame Troopers were another specialized unit within the Imperial ranks, trained to wield flamethrowers for devastating short-range combat. Outfitted with heat-resistant armor and carrying fuel tanks loaded with flammable gel, these troopers unleashed streams of fire capable of incinerating anything in their path. They were especially useful for missions that called for the destruction of structures or the elimination of hazardous flora and fauna. But for live combat, the Empire had an even more ruthless variant, the Incinerator Trooper. Incinerator Troopers were an offshoot of Flame Troopers, instantly recognizable by the red stripes on their armor. Unlike the standard Flame Troopers, who were often deployed against environmental threats, Incinerator Troopers were sent directly into urban warfare scenarios, clearing out buildings, trenches, and narrow passages packed with enemies. Their suits featured reinforced thermal shielding, allowing them to survive the brutal heat of their own flames. These soldiers were quite literally the executioners of the Empire. Their job was to burn foes alive, a grim and sadistic assignment for those willing to accept it. TIE fighter pilots were the lifeblood of the Imperial Navy, manning the Empire's countless fleets of TIE fighters, TIE bombers, and even TIE crawlers in battles across the galaxy. Clad in black, pressurized flight suits equipped with life support systems, these pilots could endure the vacuum of space for long periods without risk. Their helmets came with advanced targeting displays and integrated oxygen supplies, allowing them to stay locked onto their targets even in the chaos of dogfights. Inside the Empire, they were often nicknamed coffin jockeys, a grim reference to the TIE fighters' lack of shields and the high mortality rate pilots faced. AT-AT pilots were an elite class of soldiers, hand-selected from seasoned veterans to command the Empire's towering all-terrain armored transport, better known as the AT-AT. These pilots carried blaster pistols, thermal detonators, and grenades, but their real strength came from their control of the AT-AT itself. Weapon of war so intimidating that its mere presence was enough to send enemies fleeing. Since the complex controls of an AT-AT couldn't be left to droids, pilots had to complete rigorous simulation training before ever stepping into the cockpit. And because of their role piloting the Empire's most unstoppable war machine, AT-AT pilots often saw themselves as superior to their peers. They wore insulated, all-white jumpsuits paired with reinforced helmets and chest-mounted life support systems, gear quite similar to TIE fighter pilots, but with slight differences in design and markings. One of the most iconic appearances of these pilots was during the Battle of Hoth, sitting side by side with General Veers in the AT-AT cockpit, ready to crush the Rebel Alliance. Special Forces troopers, most famously represented by Inferno Squad, were the Empire's most elite soldiers. These were the operatives sent on high-stakes missions like sabotage, infiltration, and assassination, and they were trained to handle practically any combat situation in any environment. Inferno Squad itself was a small, hand-picked team led by Commander Iden Versio, renowned for their deadly precision and unmatched adaptability. Their armor, sleek and black, came with advanced tactical upgrades like built-in stealth tech and survival systems, although visually it resembled the TIE pilot uniform at first glance. Special Forces troopers were well armed for every mission, carrying everything from SE-44C blaster pistols to DLT-19X sniper rifles and TL-50 heavy repeaters, and mastering them all. If you've played through the 2017 Battlefront 2 campaign, you've likely crossed paths with the Inferno Squad. Purge troopers were elite Imperial soldiers, handpicked and trained for one mission only, hunting down Jedi and other Force-sensitive survivors. Acting as the Inquisitor's personal enforcers, they were deployed right after Order 66 to help wipe out the remaining Jedi across the galaxy. Armed with an arsenal tailored for anti-Jedi combat, from electrostaffs and shock batons to blaster rifles loaded with high-yield rounds, these troopers were built for pure efficiency. Early on, Purge troopers were enhanced clones, but as time passed, the Empire phased them out, replacing them with conscripted recruits subjected to brutal training and heavy indoctrination. They earned a spotlight in the Jedi Fallen Order games, and honestly, they hold their own as one of the Empire's coolest looking enforcers. Shadow Troopers, on the other hand, were the Empire's invisible hand, a covert Stormtrooper variant decked out in sleek black armor fitted with advanced stealth tech. Their armor could generate personal cloaking fields, letting them appear out of nowhere and wipe out entire squads before anyone even knew they were there. Combined with sound dampening gear and enhanced visor systems, they were masters of infiltration and ambush tactics. Shadow Troopers often ran sabotage, recon, or hit-and-run missions, armed with blasters, flash grenades, and sometimes jetpacks for that extra edge. Tank Troopers specialized in piloting the Empire's heavy ground vehicles like the Occupier assault tank seen on Jedha. Their armor took inspiration from Coastal Defender Stormtroopers, but their helmet design was shared with AT-ACT and Juggernaut pilots. Combat drivers were responsible for piloting everything from speeder bikes and AT-ST walkers to cargo transports. Their armor was stripped down for mobility, and their wide visor helmets gave them superior visibility, perfect for high-speed vehicle ops. Swamp Troopers, or Mud Troopers, were trained for combat in humid, marshy, and gas-heavy environments. Not officially part of the Stormtrooper Corps, but they fought alongside them all the same, equipped with rebreathers and filtration gear. You'll spot them them in Solo, a Star Wars story during the battle on Mimban. Elite Squad Troopers were an experimental batch designed to fuse Clone War veterans with fresh conscripts, led most famously by Crosshair of Clone Force 99. Their black Phase 2 clone armor marked their elite status, but most of them didn't last long thanks to Crosshair himself in the finale of the Bad Batch Season 1. Sea Troopers, or Aquatic Assault Troopers, were underwater specialists, outfitted with pressurized sealed armor, rebreathers, fins, and spear-like blaster rifles. These troopers were built for oceanic warfare and deployed to aquatic worlds like Mitala. Space Troopers were the Empire's zero-gravity warriors. Outfitted with reinforced pressurized armor and jetpacks, these troopers could board enemy ships or fight in the vacuum of space, gripping onto hulls with magnetic boots. They even made a brief appearance outside the Death Star. Riot-controlled troopers were the Empire's answer to civil unrest, armed to suppress uprisings and break up mobs in urban and industrial zones. Their job? Show up, intimidate, and crush any signs of rebellion. Lava Troopers were black armored soldiers stationed at Darth Vader's Mustafar fortress. Their heat-shielded suits kept them alive in the planet's extreme heat as they guarded the fortress, often alongside Magma Troopers and Crimson Troopers. Magma Troopers, outfitted for volcanic zones, wore armor with advanced respirators to shield against toxic ash and gas. Armed with everything from E-11 blasters to DT-9 heavy rifles, they even popped up in Battlefront 2015 during the Sullust missions. Crimson Stormtroopers stood out for their striking red armor, designed for volcanic environments and probably inspired the First Order Sith Troopers. They were trained to survive extreme heat and stand out while doing it. Scar Troopers were the Empire's infiltration and sabotage specialists, each member customized with gear tailored to their role, from snipers and demo experts to heavy gunners. The most well-known unit? Task Force 99, led by Sergeant Creel. Rocket launcher troopers were exactly what the name implies, anti-vehicle specialists toting heavy launchers designed to blast through enemy armor and fortifications, all while wearing reinforced suits to withstand the shockwaves of their own firepower. Stormtrooper Grenadiers brought even more explosive power to the battlefield, armed with grenade launchers that fired Class A thermal detonators. You could spot them by the red pauldron, black bandolier, and the red insignia on their shoulder. And finally, Storm Commandos, also known as Imperial Commandos or Shadow Scouts, were the elite special forces of the Empire, operating in tight squads of 3 to 6. They prioritized stealth, precision, and high-value targets, from assassinations and raids to crippling rebel operations from within. And there you have it, every Stormtrooper variant the Empire had in its arsenal. Be sure to check out part 1 if you haven't already, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out the other videos for even more Star Wars deep dives.